Kevin Spacey was one of the best known and most successful actors in the world. And then his career exploded as at least 30 men came forward accusing him of sexual misconduct. He faced felony charges in Boston, a $40 million lawsuit in New York involving a minor, charges in Los Angeles, and more in London where he could have been sentenced to prison for life. Now, all of those are gone. Despite hundreds of stories about his sexual deviancy, he keeps getting off. So what's going on? Is Spacey an unfair victim of cancel culture who lost his career over unproven, untrue allegations? Or is he a criminal who's used his money and fame to avoid justice? Or is it worse? If you've heard stories that 3 of his accusers have died, that's true as well, and it raised some eyebrows. So let's look into it. The reporting on him has been truly awful, and I guarantee in a few minutes here, you'll know more than almost anyone about these questions. The first public allegation was the most damning because it involved a child. It was a bombshell allegation that 30 years beforehand, Spacey made sexual advances on a 14-year-old when Spacey was 26. Spacey responded on Twitter with a statement that didn't quite sound like an innocent man. He said he didn't remember the encounter, but, quote, "If I did behave then as he describes, I owe him the sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior." In the same long tweet, Spacey then said the story encouraged him to address other things about his life and announced he was gay, something that was assumed by most.
Yeah, and I can't believe Liberace was gay.
The "I don't remember, but if I did it, I'm sorry, and by the way, I'm gay" response got slammed by everyone, especially gay celebrities who didn't appreciate the connection between homosexuality and child abuse. From that point forward, the media treated him as guilty. Almost immediately, 15 other accusers came out, including a Boston anchorwoman who said Spacey sexually abused her son, Robert Caveiros, also filmmaker Tony Montana, and Richard Dreyfuss's son Harry, and a number of other anonymous complaints. This was right around the time of Harvey Weinstein's first exposure, and the Me Too movement had just started in earnest. The Hollywood reaction was swift. It's easy to overuse the word canceled, but it happened to Kevin Spacey in spades. House of Cards suspended filming, and the production companies said that years earlier, a crew member had made a complaint about Spacey. He was removed from the cast and his role there as executive producer. Netflix had produced a film starring Spacey about Gore Vidal's life and decided to cancel it completely. Spacey had just finished a movie about J. Paul Getty, and the production company erased him from it completely, spending an estimated $10 million to take him out and reshoot his scenes with Christopher Plummer. Spacey's publicist and talent agency dropped him. Awards were taken away. His career was over for the time being, and once again, he came out with a bizarre reaction. This time was a video, told in the voice of Frank Underwood, his House of Cards character.
Because I can promise you this. If I didn't pay the price for the things we both know I did do, I'm certainly not going to pay the price for the things I didn't do. Oh, of course, they're going to say I'm being disrespectful, not playing by the rules, like I ever played by anyone's rules before. I never did, and you loved it.
Weird stuff, but his legal problems were just warming up. There were 4 cases that came forward. Case 1 was an unnamed masseur who filed a lawsuit claiming Spacey groped him during a massage at his Malibu house. Case 2, Spacey was charged with felony sexual assault in Massachusetts for allegedly groping an 18-year-old busboy who filed a lawsuit seeking damages as well. Case 3, an actor named Anthony Rapp filed a $40 million lawsuit claiming a sexual assault against him when he was just 14 years old. And finally, Case 4. British authorities charged Spacey with sexual assaults in a case that involved 4 men and 12 separate charges. Here's how they all fell apart. Case 1 was the most straightforward. The masseur died. I'll get into the deaths later. Case 2, the 18-year-old busboy. His mom was a well-known former news anchor in Boston who held an emotional press conference saying Spacey had plied her son with drinks, then groped him repeatedly.
In July 2016, actor Kevin Spacey has sexually assaulted my son.
The young man testified that he'd told Spacey he was 23 years old. They had some drinks by the bar's piano, and then Spacey unzipped the young man's pants and rubbed on his... The accuser also said he sent a Snapchat video of the grabbing to his girlfriend when Spacey was in the bathroom. His cell phone turned out to be a major point of contention in the criminal trial. The accuser had sent his girlfriend some texts about Spacey's behavior while it was all going down. The young man realized Spacey was hitting on him, and in a long text thread sent messages like, "He's grabbed my like 8 times. He pulled my zipper down, and he invited me to his house. He's buying me yet another drink. Help me. He's gotten me so many." And later, I got the autographs, and a hell of a story. Spacey's lawyers argued that the accuser and his girlfriend seemed to be more amused than upset. He kept accepting drinks, and he was playing along for a good story to tell. Defense lawyers also noticed that there were missing texts in the video during that time frame. They were upset that evidence was hidden from them and said it just might help Spacey's case. In fact, the accuser's mom had admitted to deleting some things from the phone before turning it over to cops. So now the court ruled it wanted to see that phone. But the family said they now had no idea where it was, despite police saying they'd returned it. Even more interesting, when the accuser was questioned about the phone, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to talk about it at all. That put prosecutors in a bind. They couldn't move forward with their star witness invoking the Fifth Amendment unless they actually indicted him and forced him to testify. Instead, they dropped the case. But there was a little twist. Just a handful of days before refusing to testify about the cell phone, the accuser also filed his own civil lawsuit against Spacey seeking money. He then dropped it, saying he was on an emotional roller coaster. That may have been the case, or that might have been the mechanism that allowed Kevin Spacey to pay him off. You see, it's illegal to offer somebody money to not testify in a criminal case, but civil suits are all about money. It's not uncommon at all for someone to pay off a civil lawsuit with an understanding that the accuser won't cooperate with the criminal case. But it's also true that the criminal case was falling apart. There may very well have been texts that made it clear that the young man was playing along and this was no felony assault. The mom earlier deleting things from that phone could indicate that as well, or not.
From the lion's den to a pack of wolves, when you're fresh meat, kill and throw them something fresher.
The third case is the only one involving a minor, and it did the most to destroy Spacey's career. It also had some fishy journalism around it and deserves a close look. It started in BuzzFeed, where reporter Adam Very wrote about Spacey's alleged sexual assault on actor Anthony Rapp, who was just 14 years old at the time. Despite having occurred in 1986, over 30 years beforehand, Rapp's claims were lurid and specific. Here's his story. He said Spacey had taken him and another acting friend to dinner and out clubbing. Then a few days later, invited Rapp to a party at Spacey's apartment. At one point in the evening, the young boy got so bored by the adult vibe at the party that he went into the bedroom to watch TV by himself. Rapp said later that evening, the guests had gone and Spacey came into the bedroom. He first blocked the doorway, then swept the boy up in his arms, then laid him on the bed and climbed on top of him without kissing or groping him. Rapp said he wiggled out from under the 26-year-old Spacey and left the apartment. Ever since, he claims to have suffered from PTSD and still recoils at seeing Spacey, hence the $40 million lawsuit. A federal trial took place in New York, but under legal scrutiny, Rapp's story unraveled. The star witness here actually turned out to be Kevin Spacey's apartment. It was a studio apartment, meaning it had no separate bedroom where the young Rapp could have left a party to watch TV, and no bedroom door for Spacey to block. There was also a close resemblance to scenes in the Broadway play Precious Sons, where Anthony Rapp was starring with Ed Harris. Spacey's lawyer described it this way. 8 times a week, actor Ed Harris picked up Mr. Rapp like a groom picks up a bride. What does Mr. Rapp claim? Mr. Spacey falls on him drunkenly. No kissing, no grinding, no touching of his genitals. Nothing, just like in the play. There were also smaller inconsistencies, including Rapp saying he was inspired to reach out to BuzzFeed because of a news article that hadn't been published yet. And, as it turns out, BuzzFeed wasn't a neutral player in this story at all. The BuzzFeed reporter, Adam Very, had been friends with Rapp for nearly 20 years. And, as subpoenaed text messages would later show, he didn't report on his friend's accusations as much as work hand in hand with them to write a compelling narrative of Spacey as a predator. Rapp first told Very he had a traumatic reaction seeing Spacey at the 2008 Tony Awards. But BuzzFeed couldn't confirm Spacey was even there. Instead of questioning it, the reporter proposed a workaround by making things ambiguous, texting Rapp, "We don't want to nail down a specific date that Spacey could just flatly deny. We're still looking, but if we can't nail it down, we'll likely say that you saw him at an industry event or some such." Very offered a similar solution about the night of the alleged party, texting, "Similarly, we're also going to steer away from the exact specificity in the story for the party." Even the judge in this case blasted the too cozy relationship, writing, "What calls Very's independence into question is the messages to Rapp and other documents indicating Very's willingness to shape the story to Rapp's objectives, to overlook or massage unverified detail, or to directly advise Rapp on public relations strategy. These statements go far beyond a point of view about the subject matter. In some instances, they come close to painting Very as a commissioned agent." The jury acquitted Spacey in just over an hour. And the BuzzFeed story is still online in its original form. Now, I'll just touch briefly on the London case, since Quite frankly, the media reporting on it made it hard to get into the details. 3 men had accused Spacey of unwanted touching and crotch grabbing, and a fourth said he performed unwanted oral sex on him while he was asleep. 2 of the men had also filed civil cases against Spacey, all anonymously. Observers of the trial said Spacey's ultimate acquittal wasn't a surprise, and that some of the stories were just unbelievable. One man said some grabbing occurred on the way to an Elton John gala, but Elton testified, and photos backed up, that Spacey hadn't been to that party for years. Unless some new criminal charges pop up, Spacey won't be headed to jail. And there aren't any current civil cases, although an arbiter did award $31 million to the House of Cards studio from Spacey and his production companies, but being private arbitration, most of that is confidential and its status is unclear. So for now, Spacey's legal problems may be behind him. But what about that whole murdering thing? 3 dead accusers seems like a lot.
And the butchery begins.
One accuser who died was the anonymous massage therapist in Los Angeles, who apparently died of cancer. His lawyers only describe him as a dignified, kind, middle-aged man. Another accuser to die was Ari Behn, a Norwegian author and artist, married to Norway's Princess Martha Louise. He long struggled with alcoholism and depression, and he had accused Spacey of groping him at a nightclub. He took his own life at home on Christmas Day, 2019. The oddest death was Linda Culkin. Culkin had serious mental problems and a long-time obsession with Spacey. She served prison time for repeatedly threatening to kill him, sent him anthrax-like powder, and made a bomb threat that had police clear a building in a neighborhood. She had all sorts of accusations against Spacey. Massachusetts police said Culkin walked across a busy road when she was struck by a car. The driver wasn't held or charged. These all made good headlines, but it's a stretch to imply that any of these deaths are some Frank Underwood-style murder. When you have a large number of accusers over a number of years, things happen. So is Kevin Spacey a predator? A victim? That's really for you to decide, not me. It's pretty clear that his go-to move was often to grab another guy's junk without an invitation. There are a whole lot of men who made that accusation, yet weren't later trying to get money from him. You can decide how bad that behavior should be considered. The more severe charges, like going after a 14-year-old, they went to court and you know how they turned out.
It's not beginning the story that I fear. It's not knowing how it will end.
Will Hollywood embrace him again? Well, this is the same Hollywood that gave a standing ovation to Roman Polanski, who fled the country to avoid going to jail after drugging and having sex with a 13-year-old girl. So it's probably safe to say that we haven't heard the last from Kevin Spacey. I learned a lot while researching this, and I hope you did as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.